I may well be drinking coffee, but it's time for the tea.
1, 2, 3, 4. Those vegan guys. I thank you.
So, I have a little analogy, and here it is. If you're walking down a dark road, and in your backpack you have a marker and a little wooden placard with a stake that you can easily put in the ground, and it's luminous, this placard, so it's going to get seen in the dark. So you're walking down this dark road and you trip over a rock and fall, and you didn't see the rock, and you know that there are people coming behind you, and you've got a marker in your backpack and a luminous sign. You can quite easily write something saying, "Watch out, rock here," and stick it right in front of the rock so that people don't trip over it like you did. That is what this is. So today is 6 months and 1 day exactly since I was accused of common assault on a vulnerable adult by my former employer, being Age UK Tameside. So I'm just going to take you right back first to getting the job and just the first couple of months there. So at the time that I interviewed for and got the job as a wellbeing assistant at Age UK Tameside, I was actually still working at the golf club where the horror happened. And if you don't know about the horror and all of that stuff, it was an armed robbery that myself and Jason were victims in, if you like. And I was still working at the club where that happened when I interviewed for the job, so I was pretty desperate to get out of there. And I made that clear in my interview. I presented well and was very honest at the end and said, look, I've been through something pretty traumatic and I'm still at the place where it happened, leading to mental health issues such as stress and anxiety. I really need to get out of there and I can do this job so well. And I got the job. So the first few months at Age UK Tameside were amazing. The clients, doing a lot of kitchen videos when it's raining lately, have you noticed? The clients, the service users were amazing, just amazing people of all ages, and some with dementia and some with physical issues, and the job entailed looking after them for the day and making sure that they were happy and fed and enjoyed what they did. So they would arrive in the morning and we would serve tea, toast and coffee, and then there would be an activity, and that could be anything from singing to an armchair exercise class. And then they would have a fabulous lunch served by the amazing kitchen staff down there. And then there would be an afternoon activity, and then they would get picked up and taken back home, and our job was to make sure that from the minute they arrived to the minute they left, they had a good time. And the job was amazing. I mean, I love to sing, who knew? And so that actually was a part of my job now, singing and being silly and doing silly characters and being me. Those of you that watch the channel regularly know who I am. I was me in that job, basically. And after I was there a while, I was offered a secondary role as an activities coordinator. So I would be a wellbeing assistant 3 days a week, and I would be an activities coordinator 1.5 days a week. And in that secondary role, I arranged a trip to Blackpool for 21 people, service users. And we brought in theatre shows and bands, musicians, and people to do talks, and we had little fairs, and all was well with the world. And then towards the end of last year, me and one of my colleagues were nominated as you know, like staff superstars kind of thing, because of the Blackpool trip and all of that stuff, and all was great. And then we heard from the CEO that she was hiring her sister in January of this year, to come in, and it wasn't very clear, it wasn't really made clear to anybody what she was going to do, but she was coming in and she was going to fix everything. Nothing seemed broken to any of us, but apparently, as has come out since, Age UK Tameside was failing miserably for the last 2 years. Well, you know, that falls on the CEO and the board of trustees, because the staff downstairs, the front facing staff, the hands-on staff, were doing a stellar job. So this sister of the CEO was coming in the January. So the year started and we carried on doing our jobs and all was well, and I have my, excuse me, I have a full report that I wrote here, and I'm just going to reference it because of the dates. So on Wednesday the 6th of February we had a team meeting. Oh, so I have to go back, it's very important. I go back to 2 points where the CEO had me in her office saying, Paul, this is exactly what we want here. You are living the values. You are putting the service user first. And those 2 incidents were, one day they were having egg and chips for dinner. And one of the ladies, who's a regular, asked for a slice of bread. So I asked for a slice of bread, and I was told no. Because if we give one a slice of bread, everyone will want one, and it's too much to do at dinner time. Now I kind of understood that from the kitchen staff, but if one of us staff who were serving could have nipped in and bought a slice of bread. Anyway, I didn't like that. I'd been told no. This woman who'd asked for the slice of bread. So I went to the CEO and I just said, I think this is out of order. I think if somebody wants a slice of bread when they're paying for a service, they should be given a slice of bread. And so I was congratulated for that, and that was rolled out. And yes, if someone asks for a slice of bread in future, give them a slice of bread, offer the, you know, and offer it out to everybody else. Another incident, a gentleman who liked to donate stuff to the centre, because he came to the centre regularly, was told that he couldn't donate stuff anymore. Now, one of the 5 ways to well-being is giving of yourself or giving things. So we were preventing this gentleman from accessing one of the 5 ways to well-being that our service was supposed to be all about. So I went to the CEO and I said, I think he should be allowed to donate stuff if he wants to. And I'm happy to have a chat with him and say, you can't buy stuff because we were concerned about his finances. You can't buy stuff and donate it, but if you already have it, again, I was congratulated. Well done, Paul. You live in the values. This is what we need. Then January comes. And then the CEO's sister was suddenly in position, and it seemed like she'd been given authority to be over everybody. Everybody. She was micromanaging every single thing, every department, moving furniture around, shifting people's positions. It all got way too much very quickly. So on Wednesday the 6th of February we had a team meeting, and in this team meeting the CEO's sister said, we're going to be changing the way we do things, and we're going to be prioritising the people that were referred here by the NHS. So in this meeting we were told the people that have been referred by the NHS we're going to be putting on special activities, but they're only going to be accessible by those people. The ones who pay full price will have to do something else. Will have to do something else. So I asked for clarity on this point and was given clarity. Yes, that's exactly what we're saying. We're going to be changing what we offer here, and there will be some activities that can only be accessed by the people referred by the NHS. So I said, that is fucking disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I didn't say I wouldn't do it. I had to do my job. But I made it clear that I thought it was absolutely disgusting. The look I got from the CEO's sister, she was absolutely mortified that somebody dared disagree with her, that somebody dare speak out of turn. And I immediately thought, are you a bit spoiled? Are you used to having everything your own way? See, I'm not here for you, or the CEO for that matter. I'm employed to put the people, the service users first. They are my first priority. And I was doing that. And that was heavily frowned upon. That afternoon, it was a shocking day. We'd had this meeting first thing in the morning, which is the time that everybody arrives. I was supposed to be team lead that day. Couldn't be because I was upstairs. We left 2 volunteers, fabulous ladies, and a young girl on work experience from the college downstairs, because we were ordered to have this meeting. It was a stupid time to have a meeting and no one had taken that into consideration, so things were all awry downstairs. Anyway, at the end, or almost at the end of the day, I was asked to go and have a meeting with the centre coordinator, who had been a very, very good friend of mine, used to work on information and advice, was now the centre coordinator, so my boss, and the CEO's sister was of course her boss. She wanted a meeting with me, and I'd known her for 9 months, got on brilliantly, thought I knew exactly who she was, how she spoke and everything. So we had this meeting, and she said, it's about what you said in the meeting this morning, Paul. You can't do that, Paul. Putting this weird voice on. Oh, and her eyes were fixed dead wide and all. You can't do that, Paul. So, I mean, if someone that you think you know is sat in front of you doing a stupid expression and talking in a stupid voice you've never heard before, immediately you're on guard, because she was deadly serious. So I said, I can't do what? You can't say things like that, Paul. You can't disagree, Paul. So I said, I'm here to work for the service users, and what was said in the meeting this morning was that we were going to segregate the service users who have always spent all their time together, where they want to go, what they want to do. And I was saying that the new way of doing things was disgusting. You can't do that, Paul. It has to stop, Paul. Honestly, and I'm not even exaggerating, that's what she was doing. So I said, as my superior, are you telling me to stop putting the service users first? And I got the same response. You can't do that, Paul. So I said, I'm going to need to take 5 minutes away from this situation. If you don't mind, I'd like to just nip outside for 5 minutes. So I went outside for 5 minutes, calmed myself down, went back in, continued the meeting. She was still saying the same thing. So I said, you'll have my notice in the morning. I am not going to work being told not to prioritise the people I've been employed to be a wellbeing assistant for. That makes no sense. What you're telling me makes no sense. So I went into the office, I opened my email, I was going to start writing my notice straight away. My superior came into the office and said, don't make any rash decisions, Paul. Go home, have a think about it. It was about 30 minutes from my finishing time. So I said, right, I will. So I had a word with my colleague who was there. I wasn't on lockup that night, so my not being there was coming anyway. There's always two people to lock up. It was going to be the one I'd just had the meeting with and my colleague. Said to my colleague, she's just told me to go home, so I'm going to go home. I'm really, really wound up right now. Okay, going home. So I left 30 minutes early. The very next morning, I went in and I wrote a formal complaint about my direct superior and said, she knows who I am, she knows what I'm about, I've never been told not to be me before, this was bullying, and I'm not going to accept it. And I lodged a formal complaint. And so then, that was the Thursday and the Friday, you know, and then on the Monday, I went into work, normal day in work, everything was fine. Lunchtime, went out to grab a sandwich and a drink, came back in, sat with I always sat with the service users. If there was a table free, a chair free at a table, I'd sit with them and have my lunch. So I sat having my lunch. One of the regular Monday people came in who has these occasional turns where, like a panic attack really, where she'll get really wobbly and faint and go really pale and, like, you know, start breathing funny. And I'd experienced it before, thankfully, so I knew what to do. Anyway, her carer brought her in as I'm sat down having lunch. As he's sitting her down in the chair, she starts having one of her turns, and I said to him, it's all right, but I've got this. So I go on, I put my hands on her shoulders and say, come on, breathe with me, lady. I didn't say lady, I said her name. Come on, breathe with me. Just a couple of minutes. Get her to do some breathing. You okay? Yeah, thanks, love. All's fine. Carried on Monday as normal. Good day in work. It's all right. Tuesday morning, I had a meeting. So this is Tuesday, the 12th of February. I had a meeting with the CEO's sister. about some of the changes and how they were going, and so we had that meeting, and then at the end of that meeting, she said, I wrote it down at the time, Paul, you put your hands on a service user's shoulders yesterday. This was totally inappropriate. You assaulted her. And you need to apologise next time she's in. My blood's boiling now. I just looked her dead on in the face and said, are you serious? And she said, yes. What you did was common assault. It was totally unacceptable. The look on that woman's face when you grabbed her, she was terrified. And immediately, my conclusion, and it could be wrong, was that the week before, when I'd had the run-in with my superior, she'd been ordered by this one to come and tell me, you can't do that, Paul. And this one was now, she had it in for me, point blank. She was trying to goad me. The equivalent would be, the only thing I can equate the feeling to is imagine that a child fell in front of you and you went, oh, are you okay? And helped the child up. And then somebody said to you, what you just did was paedophilia. You help someone out of a panic attack and it's common assault. So I thought, I'm not rising to this. I just said, I completely disagree with you. I've done that before many times. And I couldn't wait to get out of the meeting. I just nodded. Okay, yeah, okay. I went downstairs and I spoke to the kitchen staff, and I just said, did you see me with the lady yesterday? And the kitchen staff said, yeah, I watched you. You've done that before. You're calming her down. I said, is that what you saw? I was calming her down and helping her through like a little panic attack. Yeah, why? I said, because I've just been accused of common assault from the CEO's sister. And I asked a few other people who were there and who saw it, and they were all absolutely disgusted with what I'd just been told upstairs. And I was furious, and I knew right then they're trying to get me out. This is all because I disagreed with that initial meeting and said I thought it was fucking disgusting, and it was. The very next morning, we had a team meeting. We had a team meeting every morning just before everyone arrived. And in the meeting, we were talking about Valentine's Day, which was the next day. And how we wanted to make it special for everyone. And there were a couple of volunteers and a young apprentice and my colleague, you all know Stuart, all in this meeting, and the CEO's sister, who was coming up with all these ideas. And the CEO's sister was really, really negative with me. Like everything I said, just a really negative tone, and still I felt like she was trying to goad me. As she left the meeting early, we finished the meeting, and then as we came out of it, Stuart and one of the volunteers said, I can't even believe the way she was with you then. That was horrible. And I was like, I'm so glad you noticed though, I'm so glad that you noticed and I haven't said anything. Can I please cite you both when I make a complaint, because I'm quite obviously at the moment being goaded. I have a feeling that they want me out of here. Later on that same day, there was a gentleman who was, I mean, bless him, his level of dementia was pretty bad. But he was a very blokey, hey, whoa, you know. And you could sit him down, and within 2 minutes he'd be stood up again looking for his missus. She was having a little break, that's why he was there. It had taken me a couple of days to work out how to be with this man. So I'd been myself, like, come on fella, let's go and stay in the lounge, and he'd been a bit like, oh, hey. And I thought, that's because I'm gay. It's the effeminate thing. It's not a homophobic thing. He has no filter. He's wearing a veil, which is kind of what dementia does. So over a couple of kind of chats with him, I developed this. Hey, all right, lad. Come on now, sit down, have your dinner, because if your missus comes back and you've not had your dinner, she's gonna have my guts for garters, buddy. And he totally related to that. That was the way to talk to him. Anyway, so I'm doing lunch, sorting out lunch. This gentleman stands up from the table that I've just sat him down on again, and goes for a wander, and one of my colleagues shouts me over and says, whoa, Paul. So I shout over, come on, fella, what have I told you, eh? You need to sit down. I've got to feed you your lunch. I'm not getting in trouble with your missus because you keep getting up. And he was like, oh, I better sit down then. And I sat down. All was well. Immediately, my immediate superior, you know, you can't do that, Paul, came running towards me in front of everybody, all of the staff, the kitchen staff, and all of the service users, and said, Paul, you can't speak to someone like that who's got dementia. I went, like, what? You're aggressive, Paul. I said, do you want to come away from everybody? So we go into this little room for a second. And I said, I cannot believe what you're saying to me. Yet again, you're telling me not to do my job. You need to leave me alone so that I can do my job. And I just walked out and I carried on serving lunch, and then I went on my lunch. Just as I'm getting ready for my lunch, the CEO's sister comes running into where I'm putting my coat on and says, Paul, she's West Midlands, by the way, Paul, just before when you were aggressive, well, I've elevated that. So when you come, I said, well, I'm on my lunch. And I was just like, oh, what's something else now, is it? Yeah, we're all pretty clear you've got it in for me, love. I didn't say that. I just said I'm on my lunch. She went, right, well, as soon as you come back from your lunch, can you go upstairs, please, and see the CEO? So I went and had lunch. I was furious all lunch. Came back from lunch, took my coat off, went to see the CEO. The second I walked in, Paul, you were aggressive with someone at lunchtime. I went, whoa, don't you dare shout at me. Don't you dare shout at me. You want to discuss? Let's discuss. You were aggressive with somebody, Paul. I said, I tell you what, I am done with this. I've already got a formal complaint in against the centre coordinator. Now I'm putting a formal complaint in against your sister, because she has had it in for me since last week, since I spoke up for the service users, and I'm not putting up with it anymore. She's even accused me of common assault. You did assault someone, Paul. What you did was common assault, Paul. And you've been aggressive, Paul. Actually shouting at me. So defensive over her sister. Which is why that should have never happened in the first place. It strikes me, and I could be wrong, strikes me as a very, very, very spoiled little girl. Pampered by parents and big sister all her life, and ooh, must protect her, must protect her. So the CEO was speaking to me like I was shit on the ground. And again, I thought, you want me to react negatively? So I just continued to say, do you have an address for the head office? Because now that you're defending what's happened here, I now have to include you in my complaint, and so it can't go through you. Any complaints will be dealt with by the Board of Trustees, Paul. Okay. Can I leave now? Yes, Paul. So I left the office. I was absolutely furious, like so unbelievably furious. Oh, and she was also screaming about how we're filing with the CCG, Paul, and my sister's here to fix that. Okay. And she also said to me, because I'd said, I know this client, that's why I was being that way with him. It was like manly banter. It's the only way to get through to him. I know him. You don't know the clients, Paul. The dementia expert knows the clients, Paul. The dementia expert was the woman who had come from information and advice, was now the centre coordinator, and was asking us all every day, so tell me about this client then. Give me a bit of background. She was learning from us. So yeah, not a great day on that Wednesday, and it didn't feel like things were going to carry on well. But anyway, a very short time later, the CEO's sister came down from being upstairs. I'd mentioned to the CEO, I've been being bullied by your sister now for a week, and my colleague and a volunteer noticed it this morning. They said it straight after the team meeting. They noticed it. An hour later, the CEO's sister is taking that colleague and that volunteer one at a time into a little office to have a meeting with them about me and their perceptions in the meeting that morning. So the CEO has told her sister now that I'm putting a complaint in about her and given her the opportunity to take people aside privately and have a word with them about it. That to me is corruption. Later that day, the CEO came downstairs and said, "Have you checked your emails? Have you checked your emails, Paul?" And I said, "No, I can't check my emails because your sister's arranged for all the offices to be moved around today on one of our busiest days, and none of the computers are set up yet, so I can't check my emails." "Well, check your emails, Paul." I never did get to check my emails. I go into work the next morning, Thursday the 14th of February. They allow me to establish myself in work, which is, I'm chatting to people saying, "Are we having a little dance later? Lady 1, lady 2. Oh, I'd love that." You know. And then there was one particular lady there that day, and it was her last day. They were stopping her from coming, and I promised her a dance, And anyway, that I had the team meeting. I established myself with everybody, got ready for the day, and I kind of had my whole day planned where, you know, I was going to dance and everyone was going to make sure everyone had a great day. And at the end of the day, the particular lady that wouldn't be coming back, I wanted to escort her onto the bus. I'm okay, by the way, this is good for me. So, after the meeting, after I'd established myself, the CEO's sister came up to me and said, "Paul, when you got a minute, can you pop up and see the CEO?" So I go upstairs and the CEO gives me a letter. Basically telling me that I'm being suspended. And I think this might be it. Yeah, I mean, basically, the suspension at first was cited as because I'd left work early. Oh, excuse me, sorry. Because I'd left work early without permission. I was told to go home early. That was the first reason. Then they added to that and said that I left the cash of the day unattended in a locked drawer. And I said, well, what's the problem with that? It was in a locked drawer. And I was very, very upset, which is why I left. So, I was asked to read the letter in the CEO's office. It told me I was being suspended for leaving work without permission. And I said, again, my manager told me to leave. So then the cash thing was added. First it was in a locked drawer. That's what I was told by one of the board of trustees. Then they changed it. That wasn't bad enough, so they changed it to I just left it on a desk. And I left vulnerable people unattended with only one member of staff. Well, no, I didn't, because I wasn't on lock-up that day. My colleague and my superior, who'd had the meeting with me and then told me to go home, they were both on lock-up. So that was another moot point. And of course, I'm thinking, where's the common assault and the aggression that you've accused me of? Why aren't they in this suspension? So I was suspended and marched out of the property by the CEO and not given a chance to say goodbye to anybody at all. And I left and I texted Jason and said, I've been suspended, can you take me home? He only worked just down the road, and he said, yeah, of course. And he took me home. Yeah, I found it very strange that there was no mention of common assault or aggression in my suspension, and the two things being cited as reasons for suspending me were both moot and had been changed. Leaving me with the conclusion that they wanted to just get on with doing what they had planned for down there without anybody griping and moaning about it. And I just thought that that was so wrong. I handed in my bullying report, 12 pages it was at the time, outlining everything I've just told you. And first it was dealt with by one male board member who I met with twice and who seemed to be as confused as me about what had gone on and wanted to get to the bottom of it. Then I was emailed and told that it was being passed on to somebody else. Then I was emailed and told that it was being passed on to the chair of the Board of Trustees, who, in my personal opinion, is useless. Absolutely useless. What a waste of a position. And then finally, it was handed over to an HR company. And the guy who owns the HR company is also the chair of the board of another local Age UK Old. Now, he only interviewed the 3 people I was accusing: the CEO, her sister, and my manager. And one other person who'd been very recently promoted. None of the 8 people I cited as witnesses were interviewed, and the conclusion was there was no grounds for bullying. But by this point I'm thinking, this wasn't just bullying, this is because I'm a whistleblower. This is because I had something to say about the way things were being done here and the way that service users were being treated, and they got me out so that I couldn't say that anymore. So then I was formally dismissed on the 15th of March. And the CEO was foul in the meeting, and the chair of the board was, he looked like he was shitting himself, to be honest with you. At the end, when he was saying, "You are not to enter these premises under any circumstances. You are not to speak to any staff. You are not to speak to any service users." He was beetroot red and shaking. And I was just like, you lot are disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. This won't get dropped. This will not get dropped. So I have my employment tribunal on the 2nd of October lined up. The reason I've waited until now to do the video is because I've been waiting to be arrested. Surely if I'm guilty of common assault on a vulnerable adult, your duty as a charity would have been to report that to the police. You had 6 months to do that, and you didn't. So either Age UK Tameside, you lied in the first place, or you failed as a charity to care for vulnerable adults. Which is it? Liar, failure. Which is it? The way that I was treated was utterly disgusting. The CEO should have never hired her sister. She wasn't needed there. If the place was broke, it could have been fixed easily by the existing staff. So now we're in the position where I've waited the 6 months, no arrest has come. Oh, but she didn't stop, by the way, the CEO. After I was dismissed, I got a letter saying, you've been in touch with one of the service users here. Yeah, her mother used to WhatsApp me. Quick story. One of the service users who doesn't have any mental health issues, just physical, said to me one day, will you send a picture of you and Stuart in drag to my mum? And I said, how? She said, have you got WhatsApp? I said, yeah. Done. Then this poor lady had a string of health issues. She was in hospital for months, literally months. And occasionally her mum would WhatsApp me and say, would you give her a call? Please, Paul. Of course I will. Give her a call. So now I was being accused of doing something inappropriate or illegal by contacting a service user whose mum had asked me to. So I sent a copy of the WhatsApp. Look, you know, and really it's got nothing to do with you who I contact, but they'd actually told everybody, service users and staff, nobody was to speak to me now at all. And I know that because one of my colleagues outside during one of the meetings, I was having a cigarette and she was like near me and she said, they're not going to tell me who I can bloody talk to. And I thought, ah, thank you. Okay, I get what's going on here now. So anyway, this lady who'd been in hospital for all those months, so her mum had asked me to call. She went back. She phoned me and let me know. She went back, and as soon as she went back, in her words, they dragged me into the office, Paul, and told me if I had any contact with you, I couldn't come back. This was the two, the CEO's sister and the centre coordinator, actually saying to a vulnerable adult, if you talk to Paul, you can't come back here. How utterly despicable and vile is that? And I still get calls from one of the ladies who's one of the oldest there, one of the longest there I think, who pays the most money and attends the most days, phoning me up saying it's gone really bad. It's really gone downhill since you and your mate left. She forgets his name. She means Stuart. And of course things were made very, very difficult for Stuart, to the point where he had to hand in his notice. There was no option because they were messing around with his hours and wouldn't accommodate him. And on and on and on all this has gone. And then when I posted about it on Facebook, just to purge, you know, I also gave Educate Tameside a nice review. My husband commented on that review and said, I'm glad you've got this out your system. So the CEO of Educate Tameside made a formal complaint against my husband at the place where he works because he'd left a comment on my review. Oh, she was bitter. She was bitter that someone was attacking her sister with truth. Very bitter. She was trying to get at me. I'm not even employed there anymore. She was still trying to get at me. Very, very bizarre. So personally speaking, I think that the workings of Educate Tameside need to be seriously looked into. I think it was disgusting that the CEO's sister was employed and allowed to change everything, and without any consultation with the service users, I might add. And I'm really, really glad to have had the opportunity today to get all this out, because it's bothered me some. It's bothered me some, you know. So I'm waiting for October the 2nd for the Employment Tribunal. I'm going to upload this. I'm going to send the link of it to the local newspaper there in Tameside, and they can make of it what they will. The service users at Age UK Tameside, in particular the ones who are paying the most money, were not, I can't speak for now because I'm not there, were not being prioritised earlier this year, and people who spoke up for them were bullied and goaded out of a job. I think that's disgusting, and I'm sure many of you do too. That's the sentence. There's probably more. I'll probably start editing this and think, oh, why didn't I mention that? Why didn't I mention this? But that's the core of what happened. And of course, this affected my willingness, maybe even ability, to apply for other employment when you've got all this hanging around your neck and it's not even cited in the reasons for getting rid of you. Anyway, liars or failures? You're one of the two. Which is it? Please consider this my sign in the road. Thank you very much for watching. Please be excellent to yourself, and of course, be excellent to each other. And